So, hey guys, I want to show you something. I'll finish this application. We're going to have a tutorial about a mini stack, but the catch is that we're going to use Node and TypeScript. So in order to build this, we're going to use TypeScript in the backend, okay? So I will show you that this thing has validation errors, okay? And if I, let's say, another post, something like that, this also has a mean length. Let's go to lorem ipsum. Just to show you, just copy this, just paste it, so the error is gone, and we get to choose a file. For the cover, let's choose this one, open, and submit. Okay, I will change that later, forgot to change that. So we have this little application that you can upload images, create a post, okay, and we have this edit panel that spans all, wraps the entire page, and you can delete here, and you can edit again here the file and the post, okay. We can close that, and you can see that it refreshes and it gets the configuration back again, and we are done. We can create a new post from there, and you can see the button is gone there, okay. But this is the Angular part, but in this video we're going to build, so let's close this. We're going to build the, not the API, but the configuration of TypeScript and Node.js, okay, for the API, so we can have that, and we can get that from a repo, so we can start once we have the tutorial on the channel about the API, okay. So you don't have to do it again, just to make it easy or easier. So let's close this. I'm going to close the project, okay, and I'm going to close this. So what we're going to do is to create a new folder. Let's call it Node TypeScript API. Let's call it like that. So let's get inside that folder, and let's run with our command git bash or terminal. We're going to say npm init --y, I think it is, to create the package.json. So you can see it's added the package.json, and we need to start installing some dependencies. So since we're going to use TypeScript, we're going to do the same. We're going to do this, that is install TypeScript. Okay, we have it like up here. We need to npm install tsnode and TypeScript. So let's first install TypeScript as dependencies. So just copy that and paste it. Let's wait for that to be installed. And the other one is going to be a tsnode. What is the difference about having a project with only Node and one with TypeScript and Node? That you get a more granular way to access your modules and packages, and also you get the typings, okay, that allows you to say what you are going to return or what certain feature is going to be. So that makes the application better in terms of knowing what is what you are going to return, or what is what certain property is expecting. Okay, so TypeScript is installed. Let's copy a TS node. You can see that. Let's paste it. Let's install that. Let's wait for that. Okay, so we have that, and I have this open. Why? Okay, because this is I'm going to copy some scripts, because you will see why we need to create this folder. I think we're going to call it different here, because Angular also creates this folder, and although we can change that, let's change it here. So if we use Angular, it doesn't. I think React also does that, right? We don't have any, any need to rename it or anything. So let's say npx tsc dash dash init. Okay, so this should allow us to create the ts config. That is something that we're going to use to configure the way TypeScript is going to compile this application. Okay, so but before this, we're going to start installing the typings. So for example, let's take a look at what we have here. Let's open with code, and let's see. This is the TS config that we're going to change in a second, but here you can see we have inside dependencies the TS node and TypeScript. Okay, so we need that. We need also to install Express and Mongoose, because we are going to require those in the project. Okay, because it's a MEAN stack application. So let's go to Express JS. So you can see, in case you're kind of new with this is in Spanish, but don't mind that. So let's copy this, npm install express. You should get the copy of the page in English if you aren't from, let's say, Mexico. So let's say npm install express, save. So let's save express, and let's go to Mongoose. I forgot to say that you need not install. Okay, so if you cannot do this, if you have a problem that says not is not defined or something like that, or the command npm is not available, you need to install Node.js, okay, version 10.16.3 for to be kind of compatible with other projects. And this is what usually most people work with. But I have actually this 12.11.1. I have this version, okay, due to some things I did with a little job I had to downgrade my Node version to make it compatible. So I installed 10, and after that I just removed the version 10 and installed the latest version 12.11.1. Okay, so either, okay, it's going to work, so don't worry about it. So okay, let me move this. Okay, so we have Mongoose, and we need to install Mongoose. Let's say quick start guide. Let's see. Okay, npm install Mongoose. So we already have installed Express. So let's paste npm install Mongoose. It's going to save it anyways. So we can see we have inside dependencies Express, and we're going to have Mongoose. For that, for this MEAN stack application, for the API, I use Mongo Atlas. We're going to check later how to create Mongo Atlas project. Okay, so you can have that. So we're going to start using Mongo Atlas. That's why it took me a little bit to create a tutorial about this, because I was like, well, I needed to check how to configure and how to get started with Mongo Atlas. So we already have Mongoose. Okay, so now we can start installing the typings, but these typings need to be installed as dependencies, or you can install it just like this. You can see that sometimes it has the dependencies, the dash capital D, and sometimes it doesn't. But what is the problem with that's kind of the problem, okay? But it's not a problem. It's just how TypeScript works. We need the typings in order to get certain let's say features, no, not features, so we can access the needed properties or modules inside these Express and Mongoose packages. Okay, so we actually needed typings to make those work with the imports and the specific configurations that TypeScript requires. So we have already that. Okay, so we still need to install this, so let's paste it and let's add a capital D, a dash capital D to that. And for everything, just say types, add this dash, and this, I forgot the fucking name of that. So let's say Mongoose, okay? And you can see you get the typings, and you just need to install them. So for everything that you're going to use, you need the typings, okay? So let's paste this. You can see that it doesn't say the dash D. I think this is a slash, right? The dash D, because it will work either way. So, but this is kind of just being picky about where to install that. So let me show you. We have the typings, okay, and the Mongoose also typings. Inside the dependencies, also TS Node and TypeScript that we're going to use only for development, and we don't want anything else installed when we use it on production. So we only install the dependencies that we're going to require for production that are Express and Mongoose. Also, there's a types node, okay? In case you have a problem, we will see that because I installed for that application, the MEAN stack application, I installed the types node because the file system wasn't working. So I don't know if it was my mistake or it actually needed the typings, but we will see that on the tutorial. So let's close this and let's close this, and this is done. And let's configure now our tsconfig. So here you can find what it says here. You can read that, and this is the version that we're going to use. So I was using, okay, we're going to use ES 2019. Now we need to, okay, nice, to comment this, to remove the comments for the out there, and we're going to create here, or this is going to be the directory where we're going to add the compile API. Okay, so we can call it a dist, or we can give it another name. What name could we add? Or let's call it this. Okay, we can change this later. Just to show you, So once we are ready to compile for production, maybe we will only for that change this out there. Okay, but right now that should be fine. Strict is true. What else? I have this model resolution. It's going to use node. Okay, specify the model resolution strategy. So it's going to use node for this. Okay, for TypeScript, and we need to add here the exclude. That is not modules. We're going to exclude not modules. So for each change, okay, that we do is going to check for some files. We still haven't added that, but we're going to exclude for the configuration in the node modules. So that should be it. The interop is already, yep. So I think that's all for that, for the tsconfig. So for this project, we're going to add here inside the route as not a file but a directory called source, and inside this source we're going to have the public folder, and here inside the source we're going to add two files. One is the index.ts and the other one is the app.ts. So remember, we're going to use TypeScript, so instead of using JS we're going to use TS. Okay, so I think from this on we're going to use TypeScript with Node. Okay, so this will be also an introduction. I mean the min stack, and it's going to be an introduction. We're going to build the API for it's going to be used also in React. So if you are a React user, an Angular user, you will have the API full tutorial, okay, and it's going to be used together with Angular and React, and maybe Vue.js, okay, but I'm not still sure about that. You know that I'm not a big Vue.js fan, so we can add a git ignore, but let's not add that. And we need to install, let me go to my, I'm checking my other project, okay, so we need to install nodemon. Let's go to npm nodemon. We need to install this. So remember that we need to allow this to save that nodemon, allow the project to refresh on each change. So nodemon is going to allow us to do that. So let's install it. So it's going to be installed as dependency because we will not need that in production. So okay, let's wait a little bit for that. I'm going to move this to my screen, and well, we will need to configure nodemon, and we will do that in a second. But let's actually create a new folder, a new file called nodemon.json. Nodemon.json. This is going to be the configuration. Okay, so this is installed, and this is going to be the configuration for nodemon. So let's take a look at this, and we're going to use the next configuration. We're going to ignore the changes on node modules. Also, let me move my mouse. We're going to ignore all the git files the changes in Git file, so it doesn't refresh each time it does that. We're going also to ignore the test.ts files and also the spec files, so it's the same, but spec.ts. These are testing files, so we're going to ignore all the changes on those. We're going to match the folder called source, so that is the folder that we're going to check. The extension of the files that we're going to check are ts, of course, and we're going to execute something that we already have installed, that is tsnode, because tsnode is going to run the node application. Okay, so we need to execute this when node mod runs, so we can actually execute the index ts. Okay, because that is going to be, that is going to be the main file that is going to start our application. So this module allows us to run this, okay, in a way that we can develop working with TypeScript without the need to be compiling that. Okay, so it's going to take care of that. So that should be it. Yes, that's all for the configuration, normal configuration. And what else we need to do? Okay, just let me check my notes. We already have installed the typing, so Express and Mongoose. Okay, we need to create the scripts now. So I'm going to copy my scripts from there. Okay, but we need something else. Just give me a second. We need certain packages inside our dependencies that are going to allow us to remove the folder, okay, this folder that we create each time we run a build command, okay, on the scripts. So we are going to use, the name is rimraf npm. So this one so let me see. Okay, and this one is going to remove the folders. Okay, so it's going to work for Windows, Mac, and all that. So we don't have to say, don't have to specify each thing. It's going to be difficult, anyways. So let's install rimraf. Where the hell is that installation? Okay, okay. Forgot about this. So let's copy this. Let's go to our command and space this. So let's install rimraf as a dependency. And we also need npm ncp. Okay, that is going to allow us to copy some directories. This is also going to work in Mac, Windows, Linux. Okay, so let's install this also, because we are going to okay, copy that. If I click, okay, didn't know that. It's going to copy the public folder that we're going to add some things, and we need that to be passed to this folder. Remember that this folder is where we're going to drop all the compile things. Okay, the compile project, because we already specified that here. So it's going to create this folder with the JS version, okay, of the TS files. So we already have that, and if I'm not mistaken, that is all we need. So let's say, okay, we need to add our scripts. So we need to go to package.json and start adding some scripts. Let's keep that test. So let's add a comma, and we're going to say copy public, but because remember we have a public folder that is where we're going to add some things, and we will need that. So we're going to use ncp that the source public. So we're going to specify which directory we're going to copy and where we're going to place it. So it's this public because that is the destination of the compiled files. We also want a clean that is going to run rimraf that is going to delete, rimraf deletes folders. Okay, I think I said that, I can remember. And for the disk, so each time we rebuild, we're going to delete the disk, the disk folder, so it can be rebuilt again. So we're going to create another that is the dep. So this one is going to use the nodemon, okay, configuration, and source is going to check the source and run the index.ts. The other one is going to be the build command. Okay, so this one is going to be for production, that is going to actually build and compile all our files into the disk folder. So we're going to say npm run clean and tsc, that is TypeScript, and npm run copy public. And the start, that is what we're going to use in order to develop our application locally. So it's going to run not this. This is npm start, is what we're going to use once we have the compiled version, the build version for production, and it's going to start the index.js that is going to be built inside the disk folder. So the dep is what we're going to use in order to run the ts file for to develop the project locally. Okay, so let's save this, and this should work. So let me go, and we already have Express installed. Okay, so let's say here inside app.ts import Express from Express. Remember, we're using TypeScript. Okay, so you can see we got this autocomplete because we have the typings, and now TypeScript understands what everything is being referenced. So we're going to create this constant app. It's going to be equals, sorry about that, it's going to be equals express, and we're going to export default app. Okay, so let's save that, and let's go to the index.ts. So we're going to import app from, so the app.ts is where we're going to have our configurations. Yeah, we will see that. We will see that once we start building the project. So we are going to import app from app.ts, and app that you can see we have this listen because we're using Express. In case you have a problem with this, because it happened that it said that this, if I use port 8000, sometimes it says that the port is already in use. If I use 5000, sometimes it also says that, but it seems to work with 4000 without any problems and all the time. Usually there's sometimes with ports 8000 and 5000 seems to be a not process running on that port for some reason. So let's say console.log server running on port 4000. So we have this, and let's see if this is going to work, because if not, we just wasted a ton of time. So we're going to run npm run dev on our folder, and you can see we have that, okay, server running on port 4000. So if I say console.log again, change something, if I can type, let's save this and let's check. You can see we're starting to do changes, starting ts node and change something and server running on port 4000. So it's going to run, it's going to restart, sorry, with each change on our ts files. So okay, that is working. And if we go to http localhost 4000, you can see that it says cannot get, but this is from Express. Okay, we don't have any routes, so that's why in case we wanted to add a route, you can add a route. Okay, it would fetch that route, but we're going to do that in the video, in the tutorial, so don't worry too much about this. You can keep working with Express and not if you don't understand how to add it or how to pair it with TypeScript. So you can still use that and wait for the course, for the tutorial, in order to start learning how to implement all the functionality you are used to, but only with TypeScript. So that is that, and we're actually going to close this so we can come back here, Control C to stop the process, and we're going to say npm run build. You can see that it's going to create a dist directory. So let me, okay, you can see it created this dist with the public that it doesn't have anything, and the app.js and the index.js. Okay, so this is a dist folder, and there's also npm run or npm start that is going to start the index, okay, JS inside the dist folder. So this is for production. This is what you are going to compile into this and use this version for production. So let's go here and let's say the same, http localhost 4000, and we will get the cannot get, okay, because we don't have a route. So that is set, that is done, and each time we run the npm run build is going to delete this folder and create a new one. Okay, so we can actually delete this folder. And although I already have, if you check my GitHub, I already have a version of this, but as I was installing, you can see that sometimes you can get the npm install without the dependencies, without the -D to install as the dependency. Well, I just copied that and installed it. So okay, let me show you because it's the one that I follow. You can see that all my dependencies, okay, you can see how this thing is added. And in our project, because we're going to use this one, I'm going to upload this one, so you will see the changes. So let's say we have let's add this one. We have the dependencies, types express, types mongoose, Node.js, TS Node, and TypeScript, And in our real dependencies that are going to use for production, we have Express, Mongoose, NCP, and RinDraft. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to build. I'm going to add into GitHub. So in case you saw this one, okay, you can still use it. I even used this for the tutorial I built, but you can see that this works as well. So we're going to build on top of this for a tutorial. This is what we're going to use in order to build the MEAN application and the API. Okay, so just in case you saw that and you downloaded that, know that it's the same, only that when we build for production, it's going to also install those. Okay, although we didn't or we don't need those in production. So that's the only thing, and I think that's it. We can add a git ignore to upload this. So let me go and copy this git ignore and paste it. So this one is going to, this should open with Notepad. We're going to remove node modules, so it doesn't add when it's in when we're building the repo. If you want to see how to upload to GitHub, let me know and we will I will show you, or maybe I'll just show you in case you don't know. So let me see the time. So 36. Okay, I'm going to upload. I'm going to record another one, deleting the old repo and adding this new repo in case you are not used to how to get the things inside, because this could be seen by a beginner. So let's just add that video also so people can understand. In case you want to also build your project, this and add it to your GitHub so you know how. So I'm going to stop recording and I will continue in a second.